All right, so graphing in intercepts, this is y equals mx plus b, which I know you've heard of before, but we'll go ahead and start basic and move from there. With these algebra ones, I try to keep it as minimal algebra as I possibly can. And go from there. We will do this. And like I said, each of these topics, these big topics in this class, we kind of hit a little bit of it, and we don't try to go too deep into them. So the first thing, y equals mx plus b. Anytime you are given a formula in a math class or a science class, write down what all the letters mean. This helps you in word problems. This helps you kind of work through it. I mean, y'all know what the M and the B mean, but nobody ever talks about the X and the Y when they do this. So M is your slope. The words we think of when we hear slope are rise over run. The easiest way to do rise over run and the slope is to, if it's positive, you go up. If it's negative, you go down. But the bottom number always tells you to go to the right. Okay, we read from left to right. So as long as we are doing that, it gets confusing. If you work to the left, you got to do the opposite of the up and down. So it just gets confusing. So what you want to do is, like I said, if it's positive, you're going to go up. If it's negative, you go down. But then the bottom number always tells you to go to the right. Okay, the y-intercept is our B, and that is our starting point. This is like a real life thing when we talk about this. We'll talk about intercepts in a second. But the y-intercept, the x equals 0 at the y-intercept. So like if you were, I don't know, figuring out how many calories you should eat. Like this is, if you eat 0 calories a day, that's your starting point, and that's called your BMR if you go into that part of it. But that is where you start at. That's like your base number to start off of, and then it changes from there. So you start at the y-intercept, and then you do what your slope says. Positive, you go up. Negative, you go down. The x and y are any point on the line. That is an ordered pair. X comes first, y comes second. But every single variable in an equation like this does mean something. So any point that would fit on that line, we'll talk more about that in a second. We're going to graph these on what they call the Cartesian coordinate. Your x-axis is the one that goes horizontal. Your y-axis is the one that goes vertical. These are just number lines. The zeros are what they call the origin. Okay, so x is 0 and y is 0 right there. You go positive as you go to the right. You go negative as you go to the left. And that's a horizontal number line. And then you have a vertical number line with the y. You go positive as you go up. And you go negative as you go down. Okay. And then that 0, 0 is right there in the middle where they meet, the intersection of the x and y axis. All right, so I said we'd start kind of easy here. And like I said, if I need to slow down or pause so you can write something down, I mean, these notes are in your Apple Notes now. You might try just out of my curiosity, like somebody that has a MacBook or iPad, and like pull up your phone and leave it right there and see how fast it updates as I'm doing it. I don't know if it'll do it or not, but we'll see. All right, so the first equation is slope-intercept form. This is an example of like y equals mx plus b in slope-intercept form. Sometimes it's nice to like write y equals mx plus b right underneath it because then it all kind of matches up. So your number in front of your x is your m, that's your slope. If you struggle with this at all or when you first start doing it, always think about what your slope is. At the very minimum, it's nice to just write it down. So 3, you could rewrite that as 3 over 1 to make it a fraction. So you have rise over run. This is positive, so I go up 3, and the bottom number tells me how much I go to the right. I go right 1. Okay. And then my y-intercept is at negative 2. This is technically the point like 0, negative 2. That's my starting point. If I was graphing this right now, that's where I would start. One of the topics that you talk about is like, is a point on the line? So this 2, 4 over here, is this on the line? You just say, okay, my x is going to be 2, my y is going to be 4, because x comes first, y comes second in an ordered pair. So you plug those in. You put a 4 in for my y, you put a 2 in for your x, and you're seeing if this works out to be equal, if this is true, okay? So you say 3 times 2 is 6, 6 minus 2 is 4, so 4 does equal 4. That is true. What that means is that 2, 4 is on the line y equals 3x minus 2, okay? So like that point does fall on the line. So if it was false, if you got 4 equals 10, then that is false. That point would not be on the line. So I know that's one of your topics there. Try to pause for a second, make sure y'all get it wrote down on the stuff I write more on. All right, so next, actually graphing one. Kind of start with a silly one, but I believe Alex does too. So y equals 5x. This doesn't have like the y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if you wrote this out under here, it'd be y equals 5x, or whoops, not 5. I want an m there. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so there is nothing there. That's like a plus 0. So my slope is going to be 5, which would be like 5 over 1. So I would go up 5 to the right 1. And my y-intercept is going to be 0. I'm going to start at 0, 0. So we are going to start. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start at 0, 0. So I start at 0, 0, my origin. You always start at your y-intercept, and then you do what your slope says. This one is up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right 1, up 5 to the right 1. And once you get 2 points, you can draw your line, and you're good to go. Okay, so we started at 0, 0, and then we went up 5 to the right 1. Up 5 to the right 1. So yeah, this one is a little bit strange just because you don't have like a plus b there, but if you don't have anything there, it's just like a 0. So you start at 0 and then do what the slope says. Positive you go up, negative you go down. All right, if you have this one, again, I think it's kind of nice to write the y equals mx plus b underneath because then it just all matches up. The number in front of your x is your m. So that's negative 3/4. So again, you got to think about what that means. Write it down if it helps you. This would be negative, so it's down 3. We haven't done a negative yet. Down 3, and then I go to the right 4. You always go to the right. That's going to make it easy. It'll always work out like that. We read left to right, so you always want to move to the right. So the top number, positive up, negative down, and the bottom number, you always move to the right. My y-intercept would be negative 2, so we are going to start at 0, negative 2. Because that is a y, so that's where it crosses the y-axis. So I start at negative 2, and then I do what my slope says. My slope says down 3, so I go down 3 from here and to the right 4. So down 3 to the right 4. And then once I get 2 points, I can graph that. So I started at 0, negative 2. I went down 3 to the right 4. All right, so that's when it's given to you in y equals mx plus b. You just get to look at it. The number in front of x is your m. The number over there by itself is the b. If they give it to you in this form right here, this is called standard form, the ax plus by equals c. I think it is easiest to go ahead and move it into y equals mx plus b from here. Unfortunately, that does involve a little bit of algebra. I'll kind of show an alternate way of doing these in just a second. I kind of think that Alex makes you do it both ways, though. But what we want to do is make this look like y equals mx plus b. So I want to get this y by itself. So I need to get rid of everything that's bugging the y. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x from both sides. And I get negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. And then to get y completely by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 3. When I divide by negative 3, that cancels out, so I just have y over here. I need to make sure I divide everything over here by negative 3. So I do negative 2 divided by negative 3 is 2/3. And then I do 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. So now that the y is by itself, it is in like y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form. So my slope is the number in front of x, which is 2/3. That would be up 2 to the right 3. And my y-intercept would be negative 2. So again, we want to start at my y-intercept. Start here. So I go down 2, put a point. And then my slope is up 2 to the right 3. Up 2 to the right 3. So I started at 0, -2, and then I go up 2 to the right 3. The slope is a constant, my pictures aren't perfectly drawn, but it is a constant rate of change, so it will always be, I could start anywhere on the line. If I go up 2 to the right 3, I should land back on the line, okay? So since it is constant, you can go anywhere on the line and go up 2 to the right 3, but we have our y-intercept as our starting point, and from that point, we go up 2 to the right 3. Make sure you always start at the y-intercept when you do that. All right, X and Y intercepts. So an intercept is where it crosses the axis. We've been talking about the y-intercept right here. That's where it crosses the y-axis. We can find the X and Y intercept without having to graph it or put it in y = mx + b. This is something that no matter how far you go in math, I know y'all don't take a ton of math, but like how crazy the equations get, you can always do that same thing, do this the same method. So to find the x-intercept, you make y be 0 and solve for x, okay? So you plug in the opposite one and put a 0 in there. To find the y-intercept, you make x be 0 and solve for y, okay? This little chart right here just kind of helps me remember, like if you're plugging these in and trying to figure out what these points are right here, like you put the zeros diagonal and that tells you, okay? So you plug to find the x-intercept, you make y be 0. To find the y-intercept, you make x be 0. So whatever helps you remember that in any way, you can think about that, but it's always you plug in the other one. So if you're trying to find the x-intercept, you make y be 0. Find the y-intercept, you make x be 0. The first Alex topic is you just looking at the graph and telling what the intercepts are. So you just got to look and see where it crosses. So what's first? X-intercept. My x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. So that crosses at -4, 0. In Alex, you just have to put -4. You don't have to put the point. It just wants where it crosses. It doesn't actually want the ordered pair. And then for my y-intercept, it crosses right here at 0, 4. And again, you don't have to put the point. So it would just be at +4. All right, so algebraically, to find these, if you had an equation like this, you have 3x + 7y = -9. We just want to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So we're going to do what we've been saying. To find the x-intercept, we want to make y be 0. Okay, to make y be 0, I plug a 0 into y. And I'm going to solve for x. These are usually pretty easy when they're in this standard form like this, the ax + by = c, because 7 times 0 is just 0, so that kind of goes away. 0 plus anything is just itself. So the only thing on the left side I have left is the 3x. Why do I feel like I did that wrong last class? I divide by 3. And I get x = -3. So I get -3, 0 is my x-intercept. I think Alex just makes you write this, though. So you trying to find the x-intercept, you plug a 0 into y. Find my y-intercept, I make x be 0. So I plug a 0 into my x. And I'm going to solve for y. So again, 0 times 3, that's just 0. 0 plus anything is just itself. So on the left side, we just left with 7y. To get y by itself, we divide by 7. That doesn't divide nicely. So I get y equals -9/7. You can just leave it as a fraction. You don't have to like do a decimal or anything like that. Just you're doing 9 divided by 7, so you just leave it like that. This is the point -0, -9/7. So again, to find the x-intercept, you make y be 0. To find the y-intercept, you make x be 0. You just plug in the opposite one, make 0 but for the opposite one. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so you can also graph like this. Graph a problem using the intercepts. You don't have to put it in y equals mx plus b. It does help you a little bit with the algebra part of it. I think Alex might make you do it like each way, but so on this one, if we're going to graph it with using the intercepts, let's find the x-intercept first. So I make y be 0. So I have 5x minus 10 times 0 equals -20. So 10 times 0 is just 0. That kind of goes away. So all I have left is the 5x on the left side. And then to get x completely by itself, I divide both sides by 5. So I get x equals -4. That's going to be the point -4, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my graph. Okay, so to find the x-intercept, you plug in a 0 for y. So now let's find the y-intercept and make x be 0. So 5 times 0 is 0. That goes away. The only thing I have left on the left side is -10. And then divide by -10. To get y by itself, so I have y equals 2. So that's going to be the point 0, 2. So go put that on the graph of the y-axis. Now I have 2 points, just like we did a minute ago, and I can graph my line. That's kind of an alternate way of graphing these. If you don't like y equals mx plus b, I think y equals mx plus b is easiest because then you can just look at it and graph it. But that is an alternate way. Like I said, I think Alex may make you do it both ways in those, but it is give you a different option there. I try to pick problems on the test to where you can do it either way, but I don't remember on this test. We'll look at that during test week. There is only like 10 or 11 topics in this section, so yes.
Is it 0, 2 or 0, -2?
Oh, it is 0, 2. See, I told you I'd mess up. Man. My bad. Y'all got to stop me. I feel like I've had -2 twice, so I just leaned into that, I guess. 0, 2. Changes the line completely. I guess speaking on that note, like as I mess up right there and put 2 instead of -2, computer math is not perfect, and you do take your test on the computer math, but it like lets you review it right after you're done. So like if you do that on your paper or your test, like I do give you partial credit on that. Alex gives you partial credit sometimes too. So you can just like show me after the test. We'll talk about that during test week. Show me the problems after the test and anyone that you think you deserve partial credit, and I can do that. All right. That is like all the topics. So what I want you to do is do this one yourself. And I might walk around for a second, and then I'll come back and do it just to make sure we got it. Give you all a second to get going there. I was trying to see what this point was. Yeah, I see what you did. All right, just to graph it real quick. So my slope is a number in front of x. That's negative 2/3, 2, 3. So I go down 2 to the right 3, and my y-intercept is at 5. So I start at my y-intercept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I start at 5, and now I'm going to do what my slope says. It says down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. It'll be right there. Okay, I don't think I saw anybody do that, but like make sure you always go back to your y-intercept. So you start at your y-intercept, and then you go down 2 from there and to the right 3 from there. Let me think of one real quick here. Let's do. Hold on, don't write that down yet. Give me a second. Let me make sure I got my mind right. I think that'll work. All right, graph that one. I'm not going to do a ton of these, but my lectures will be short, but they won't be. I guess you can have the choice here that if you want to do it with the intercepts, or you should probably, since I'm in classes, you try to put it in Michael's mx+b, so I can help you with any of the algebra. That's probably the best way to do this one. We'll do the intercepts one, yes. Put this in y equals mx plus b and then graph it. All right, yeah, just got to be careful with the algebra a little bit here. Kind of the same pattern on these, and we try not to do too much algebra in this class, but get the y by itself, so you subtract 6x from both sides. Those cancel out, so I get negative 3y on the left. On the right, I have negative 6x plus 12. And then to get y completely by itself, I'm going to divide everything by negative 3, so those cancel out, and I get y. Negative 6 divided by negative 3 would be 2x. 12 divided by negative 3 would be negative 4. And then my slope would be 2, which is 2 over 1. So this is positive, so it would be up 2 to the right 1. And my y-intercept is negative 4. So I start at negative 4, and I go up 2 to the right 1. Started at negative 4, went up 2 to the right 1. All right. Probably the last one. Take that equation and find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. By the way, as y'all are doing that, I just moved week 1 to this week. We called last week week 0. I guess I didn't really move week 2 stuff or change like the test due date or anything. I don't think we'll have any trouble finishing week 1 and week 2, but if like y'all need a little bit more time for the stuff we do on Tuesday or Thursday, I can give it to you. But we'll see how we're doing on all this. All No, that's right. Yeah, one thing is, you can't have, you don't almost put the denominator. So it's like how else how much you put over. Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to kick, like, you've done everything for week 2, so you can work ahead if you want to, but it never ends until you get done with the whole. What? I'll talk about that in a second. All right, to find the x-intercept, you make y be 0, so you get negative 5x plus 6 times 0 equals 12. The 6 times 0 cancels out, because 0 times 6 is just 0, so you just have negative 5x on that side. Divide by negative 5. And x is, this is one like weird thing with just fractions and just the way we write these. A fraction is one number, so the whole thing is either positive or negative. The fraction bar also means divide, right? So a positive divided by a negative is a negative, okay? So this answer is negative 12/5. Alex will let you put the answer in, and this is the way anything works right here, like the negative in front of the fraction, like 12 over 5, or you could do negative 12 over 5, okay? Technically, this is the same thing if you put the negative in the denominator like it's written right here, but Alex won't let you put this in because it's just like not the proper way to say it. Though actually, this is the only true proper way to say it because it is negative one number, 12 over 5, right? But when we talk, we say negative 12 over 5, so they let you put that answer in because that's just the way it sounds like we were saying it. Does that make sense? But we would never say 12 over negative 5 because the whole thing is negative, right? So you either got to do it like in front of the fraction or at the top right there. But those all are actually the same thing. Okay. To find the y-intercept, you make x be 0. So I have negative 5 times 0 plus 6y equals 12. Negative 5 times 0 is just 0. So all you're left with is 6y. Divide by 6, and y is equal to 2. And that is finding the x and the y intercept. Okay. So I do feel